President Biden doubled down yesterday on his Thursday claims that Donald Trump's supporters are a huge threat to democracy. This was on Labor Day. This wasn't one of those speeches that really did anything to unify the country. I don't know anyone who feels, after listening to President Biden's controversial speeches over the past few days, yesterday and Thursday, that he was giving us a call to come together, regardless of political party, to unite around the ideal that we are all Americans. And Donald Trump over the past weekend, he called it out, but was also divisive in his own words. And like Donald Trump often does, he punched back against the Biden and Democratic rhetoric. I don't know, Kevin, about the, I don't know about the idea that the president stood before the country, President Biden, in prime time for the specific purpose to say that Donald Trump and his followers were trying to actively destroy democracy. It was incredibly provocative.
Yeah, we all talked about President Biden's primetime speech with the ominous red lights behind him and the dark mood of it all as he went on full attack mode on MAGA Republicans. Over the weekend, Donald Trump had a rally and he had a chance to respond. President Joe Biden spoke at Labor Day events and had a chance to respond. Both had an opportunity to either dial it up or dial it down. Joining us now is Roshini, political strategist and host of the podcast, The Crisis Files. Good morning, Roshini. How are you?
You know, I'm doing pretty well, and your line about dialing it up or dialing it down, I wish one of them would have dialed it down.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, I guess. Donald Trump called the primetime speech the most vicious, hateful, and divisive speech ever delivered by a U.S. president. Joe Biden did come out on Labor Day and try and separate what a mega Republican is from an extreme mega Republican, but we still don't really know who exactly he's talking about. On the primetime speech, it seemed like he was talking about an awful lot of Republicans. Now he said not even the majority of Republicans. Does that help when he tries to slice and dice what a mega Republican is?
No, it really doesn't help. You can't dial it back. Once you've put the accusation out there, it's out there, and it came out of the mouth of a sitting president of the United States. So he did a lot, Biden, to alienate a lot of Republicans, not just what he calls mega Republicans, but a lot of Republicans, when what he should be doing, less than, what are we now, about 10 weeks or so from the election, he should be trying to collaborate, trying to be more concessionary, trying to bring people together. The term unify comes to mind, Kevin and Tom, and I don't see this president doing that.
We watched 4 years of Donald Trump really in attack mode on all kinds of people, and maybe we got used to Donald Trump. Joe Biden comes out and attacks mega Republicans, and really everybody's like, whoa, what's going on? Is it fair to do that considering where Trump came from, or is it fair because Joe Biden said when he asked for our votes to be president that he was going to unify this country, and he's now doing the opposite?
Right. I didn't like it when Donald Trump was president and prior to being president when he was bombastic. That is just not presidential. So regardless of what Trump is doing, for Biden to sort of go tit for tat is not presidential. It is not smart from an optics or a narrative standpoint. It's not going to get you votes. And right now in the midterms, it's not going to get your Democrats votes that are needed if you want to keep some majorities. So whoever is advising him on strategy is falling short. And shame on President Biden. He's a senior politician. He's a statesman and should know a lot better. He's not a newbie to this business. And you get bad advice, you say, nope, give me something better. And I wish President Biden would demand something better from whomever is advising him right now.
Alan Dershowitz, he's a liberal constitutional attorney. He wrote that if Joe Biden was going to criticize the threat on the far right fringe, he needs to be at least equally critical of those in the far left who are also threatening our democracy. Why doesn't he do that? I mean, there's been consistent violent attacks and threats on pregnancy centers, conservative pregnancy centers, on elected officials and politicians, on Supreme Court justices. There's been billions of dollars of violent damage on police buildings and courthouses by the far left fringe. Why not address that? It's the clear elephant in the room, don't you think?
It is, and Dershowitz makes a really great point to those of us who are discerning, Tom, and can be rational and really see both sides of this issue. Look, you both know I live in Minneapolis. I lived through violence from, a lot of people on the far left, sadly. So the president is not going to criticize anyone that has a D or a liberal title to their name, to their group. And that says a lot about who this president is. What I'd like is someone who is trying to be fair, discerning, and challenge all of us Americans to be good Americans. And we're not seeing that from, by the way, our president. We're also not seeing that from Donald Trump. But every time you give Trump any coverage and you make a whole speech about him, you are giving Trump power. And that just completely goes over the heads of President Biden and his advisors.
But don't you think this is by design? We're just ahead of a midterm, and if the more that, I guess, the electorate focuses on Donald Trump and not the current problems we're having in our society, like inflation, does that benefit the Democrats this midterm?
True. It absolutely is a diversionary tactic. And that's why we as voters, we as Americans, can't take it. We cannot buy a snow job. We need to ask the questions of what's happening with the economy, what's happening with interest rates, all of the price of gas, all of these things should be much more important to the Democrats who claim to be the party of the people. Well, the people are having trouble at the pump, trouble at the grocery store, and wondering if they can afford a house at this time. I'd really like to see all Democrats with that kind of messaging and giving us solutions rather than bombast against whomever they're calling these MAGA Republicans and Donald Trump.
Well, clearly, Joe Biden thinks he can help in the midterms by saying Trump and his MAGA supporters are dangerous, or he wouldn't do it. Do you think it's going to make people stay home? Do you think it's going to fire up Republicans to come out? Do you think it's going to fire up Democrats to come out? What do you think the result of all this is going to be?
Well, that's a really good thought to think about, Kevin. I think it will bring out more voters all around. I think one place where we can look at, all of us can look at the power of, or maybe even the mess that the Republican Party is in right now, is Wyoming. Liz Cheney lost her primary by 35 percentage points. That says a lot. Now, she stood her ground, and I give her credit for standing her ground, but that says a lot about what people are willing to do. You can't rest on your laurels if you are an incumbent, and you can't just continue to attack. I mean, that's what she was doing, right? She was attacking Trump. It didn't get her anywhere in her primary election. So it would be very smart for all politicians to take a look at some of those individual races and see the kind of messaging that isn't playing across America right now.
Yeah. Well, we hope it changes. I don't know if it's going to, because we've got just over, 2 months until the midterms. And they're in fighting mode right now after Labor Day. We appreciate your perspective, Roshini Rajkumar, political strategist and host of the podcast, The Crisis Files. Thanks, Roshini. Nice to talk with you again.
Thanks so much, guys.